Welcome to this episode of Let's Be Civil. Today on Let's Be Civil, I'm speaking with Michael Salguero. Michael Salguero is a professional engineer working for the Bowman Consulting Group as a construction engineer on Chicago transportation projects. He has 5 years experience with a focus on concrete and cement-based materials, as well as thermal control of mass concrete elements. He is passionate about concrete and talking about it every chance he gets. Okay, welcome everybody to another edition of Let's Be Civil podcast. Being joined by a guest here today that's sitting on the side of the road, and no, he does not have live PD behind him that he's waiting for the outcome of the search on his license plate. He's sitting on I-90. Is it 90 or 94?
They're both here.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, where you're sitting is 90-94. Okay, so he's on his cell phone. This is Michael on his cell phone. He's gonna give us a little quick look-see outside and where he's at. So he's on a construction site. So if you've never seen Chicago, right? This is Chicago.
Yes, this is Chicago. I'm right now just south of Taylor Street.
Which means a whole lot to all of us.
Yeah, that means a whole lot to everyone. Essentially, behind me, if I just can show us that for a little bit.
Yep, sure.
Back that way is one of the major intersections of Chicago called the Jane Byrne Interchange.
Okay.
Their highways 90, 94, and 290 all interact. And there's a $77 million construction project going on.
So is this widening, more lanes?
More ramps.
More ramps. Okay. You have to come to Texas to see how they do ramps in Texas.
Oh, the tiers upon tiers of exits.
Well, there's that part, but then there's the interesting reverse. So, I get myself in trouble with the DOT, so I'll be kind. But as a northerner, as you know, this is a very different approach to getting traffic on and off the interstate. So, but I can tell you're in a very well protected location to be sitting on the side of the road, spending a little time talking. So
I chose to be away from most of the activity for this.
Yeah. So we want to just make sure everybody knows that we're not going to be looking in the background to see somebody pulling up and rear-ending you. And if it is, it's going to be one of your colleagues, right?
Yeah, if they're not paying attention, but there's plenty of space. They can make it around.
So the one thing I wanted to spend some time talking with you about is if I remember right, it was your first career move out of school was to go to CTL, right? You didn't do anything before that, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was the case, but it's been a few years now. So CTL stands for what?
Construction Testing Laboratories. No, that's the wrong one. That's a joke. There's two CTLs. That's the one everyone knows about.
Right.
CTL, gosh, it's been 6 months now. I already forgot. Construction Technology Laboratories.
Yeah, that's that'll work. Which is in Chicago.
Yes, it's Skokie, actually. It's a little suburb north of Chicago, essentially Chicago.
Yeah. And if people have ever heard of Portland Cement Association, it's the research arm, and actually, I guess they're not formally connected as they once were, correct?
Right. There was a change recently, about a year now, where Portland Cement Association sold CTL Group, so it's under new ownership and it's no longer related to PCA. But they were at one point.
Right. And they were basically the research They conducted the research that Portland Cement Association was interested in as part of their, so that, you know, they could put that into their promotional and educational programs, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
they initially were the research wing of PCA and then eventually became a standalone subsidiary and eventually became for profit.
Okay.
So,
So you went to work at a lab at basically, so Portland Cement Association is a promotional group. It's, you know, it's technical in nature, but its job is to promote the use of Portland cement and concrete products. And so, you know, you didn't go to work for a consulting firm. You didn't go to work for a contractor. You didn't go to work for a product, um, you know, sales kind of a position. Sometimes you basically went to work for a research lab.
of sorts, because
Okay.
they're now, in the time that I was with them, they were definitely for profit and they were consultants of a very niche and particular nature.
Okay. So why don't you explain what you did, what goes on at CTL, and as you know, as you work your way through this, what drew you to actually go to work there?
So what I'll start off with what drew me to work there,
Okay,
because
sure.
initially I was an intern. I was uh, applied to and accepted to go to a program at UIC for a master's intent to PhD in structural engineering. I was working as an intern in materials engineering at CTL Group. In my time there, I fell in love with the materials work I was doing and thought I should second guess the program I'm putting myself in. And at the end of my internship, they offered me a full-time position. I decided to forego the schooling and start the full-time job. And that's where I joined in with CTL Group. It's a place where you're surrounded by PhDs that know their field through and through. It's just people who are extremely knowledgeable and have the experience, not just from their education, but from the work that they've conducted over the years, 20 plus years of experience doing what they do. And everyone has their focus. I worked particularly with the materials group in thermal control of mass concrete placements. It's a rather niche field. There's only so many people in the nation that are doing thermal control of concrete. And it was an opportunity to essentially get taken under the wing of one of the best. His name was John Gaida, and then also John Feld. Those were the two that I was working with closely. And the work I did was very specific to mass concrete. You have, for those that know concrete, it makes heat when it's curing. If you have too much of that concrete in one location, it's going to make too much heat and start cooking itself. So my entire job was to look at the plans, look at the concrete mixtures, look at the cement contents, and devise a contractor method to keep it from getting too hot.
Right.
As
But
well as,
and a lot of this is based on laboratory studies that would go on there at CTL in order to develop this knowledge, right?
yes,
And some of it long ago that they are relying on, but also some that is going on now.
yes.
So
And
were you, oh, go ahead.
those laboratory studies that they do now are very particular tests for that exact concrete element and concrete mixture combination. So it's specific to every project.
And you had mentioned that you were doing this mass concrete, you know, thermal control. So there are other topical areas that you might have been involved in. I mean, so each one of the PhDs roaming the halls. And by the way, is there room for the two of them to pass in the hallway? Is there, or do their heads, you know?
You know, sometimes whenever you're getting 8 of these guys in the same conference room, you just can't fit.
Yeah. But you know, each one of them had basically their specialty, and so if something came in or there was activity within a topical area, it would go to a certain person or
Yeah,
to a certain group.
and there was a lot of collaboration. Whenever there would be overlap on a project, you would bring in each of the specialists instead of have just the one project manager handle everything.
Yeah. So did you ever do any like research? I mean, we did. You did for me.
Mm-hmm.
for the summer, or was it a summer or no? Yeah, it was a summer. Yeah,
10
yeah,
weeks in the summer.
yep. This guy's an author. He's got his name on a ASTM publication, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I've got my name. It's not even et al.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But did you do any true research while you were at CTL, or was it these kind of projects like you were mentioning?
I didn't get to touch the research. I
Okay.
assisted others in data reduction and things of that nature of the research they were conducting, but I was always looked at as the Excel wizard, if you will.
Okay.
We had a big data set to manage. They would bring me over and say, "Help me with this."
Okay. You got too good at something.
Exactly, and you know the reward for a job well done is more work. So. Continue.
So how long were you there? So let's step back a little bit. You leave. So full disclosure here, Michael went to Valparaiso.
Yes.
Graduated in 2014
December.
Okay. And so then you went to Chicago.
Yes. Started my internship January 2015. Started full-time May 2015.
Okay.
Then changed careers November 2019.
Okay. So we'll come back to that in a second. But you said you went to school in Chicago.
I was in a program. Well, I was accepted to the program, but I elected to go full-time into the professional.
Okay. So you never started the master's BA. Oh, okay.
I let go of the structural engineering side and married the materials engineering side.
So I'll tell you, I mean, and we probably talked about this before, but that's same thing for me. I am by education a structural engineer, and my first research project when I went to Arkansas was materials, and I've been a materials guy ever since. It's probably like an 80-20 or a 75-25 kind of a split, but yeah, it switched. So that was kind of funny. So I missed the timing there a little bit. So how many years were you at CTL? 3?
Just under 5.
Oh, 5. Man, time's gone by fast.
Yeah.
So
beginning 2015 to end of 2019.
Okay. So you decide to make a change. So what started? So let's talk about your 5 years in.
I achieved my professional engineer.
Huh?
I achieved my professional engineering license.
Oh, got a PE. Yep. I got to say, yep. I like seeing that from the students that, when I was at Valpo, I'm now seeing all the PEs, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So you then something clicks for you that says, hey, I think I want to do something different with my career. Yep. What happened there?
Combination of elements. It was partially internally motivated and probably majorly exteriorly motivated, because CTL Group was undergoing an ownership change, and it took them about 14 months to process this ownership change. And in those 14 months, they bled something like 23 employees.
Okay.
It looked like a dire situation. I was one of the employees that bled.
Okay.
But
so how were you early on in that process, or later, or where were you in?
Okay. It was, I think January 2020, it was officially changed who their ownership was, and I left November 2019.
Okay.
But it was a mixture of, I was in this extremely niche field of mass concrete, and that's where I was beginning to get my focus. And it wasn't my passion. Others have passion for mass concrete. I did not.
So is that the internal part?
That's the internal part.
Got
yes.
It. Okay. And the external part was a lot of just the sort of the corporate change that was taking place.
2 things: corporate change, and I'm now a dad.
Oh, wow. That's new for me. I did not know that you had gone down that path.
Yes, I've got a son. He's 15 months old right now, almost 16. He was born February 2019.
Excellent.
So that was one of the other motivators. I now
Okay.
provide for family, so I reevaluate how I value myself
Right.
and what I need to provide for my family. So,
Gotcha. Excellent. So, yeah, I mean, this is good stuff because everybody's going to have career changes and more, more career changes for students that are going to be coming out of academic programs today than, nothing like for my parents and, one career, kind of a thing. And it just doesn't happen anymore. So,
I know my time at CTL Group was great. If things were different, I would have stayed there indefinitely, but I had to follow my own path.
Sure. So talk a little bit about, so you make this decision, and now you've got to do something about it. So what did you do? How did you go about looking for something new? I mean, did you have a thought of the kind of work that you wanted to do? Did you just sort of start looking around and see what's out there?
I started with that. Look around, see what's out there.
Okay.
I reached out to all my colleagues in my network, all my close colleagues, and talked to them about their jobs, how their day-to-day looked, how they enjoy it. So, because this is a legitimate career change.
Mm-hmm.
Not just I'm a civil engineer finding another job, it's I'm finding a different job.
Right.
And I'm restarting, essentially. I have experience in a very niche field that can't be applied in many places. So I need to take the experience I have and reapply it in a different format to a new position.
Nice.
And after all the asking people and looking online, I got a general idea of the essentially civil engineering jobs that are not niche and that generally have positions available. Because I work now for Bowman Consulting, and I plan on working for them for a while. Chances are I'm not going to retire with Bowman Consulting because that's just the way our world works right now.
Yeah.
So I wanted a position where my skills that I learn and acquire and experience I gain can be reapplied in another position.
So an excellent comment that you made was that you went to basically your circle of friends, your circle, your network of professional friends, and find out what they're doing. Did you do any Indeed kind of searches or Monster?
Oh yes, Indeed, Monster, Google Jobs. Searched through hundreds of different positions, skimmed a bunch, read a bunch about what the job duties are, and imagined myself doing those duties. Is that something that I would enjoy? Anything from a concrete batch operator to a materials coordination manager on state projects, construction engineer, bridge engineers, structural engineers, just looking at all the field and what it has to offer.
So how long did you spend going through this process of just trying to figure out what it is you wanted to do next?
It was months. I would say shortly after the news of the pregnancy is whenever I started.
Okay.
And a few months after my son was born is when I took the job. So over a year of looking.
Okay. Were you applying as you were evaluating what you wanted to do, or did you go through this evaluation process to kind of say, I want to make sure that I know what I want to do?
I did the evaluation first. I
Okay.
didn't submit any applications until maybe like 8 months into the evaluation.
Interesting. Okay. So you go through this process, 8 months. Did you have a list of like top 3 kind of things you wanted to do? Was there just one and you were going to go after that one? Where did you fall coming out of that 8 months?
Well, after the 8 months, I definitely wanted to work outside. That was one of the big constraints. So there are some utility engineering positions, construction engineering positions, nothing in design. I just knew if it had design, it wasn't for me.
Right. You did not want to be at a desk. You're going to be sitting there, in the car. Well, little did you know that that was going to become your office, right?
Yeah, little did I know the car during this pandemic would become my office.
Yeah,
Typically, we have a field office. I'll get back to it whenever it's safe again.
right. So, how much are you eating then in your car? Does that become the standard?
You know,
What do you got? Okay.
that's just one of the many things back there.
Back there, okay.
Whenever there's downtime, I tend to eat a little bit more, peanuts, granola bars, whatever. But
Yeah.
right now, not much downtime on this project.
So you go through the process, you whittle things down. Now you start applying. So how many jobs did you actually apply for?
I think 13.
Okay. Of a pretty, would you say of a pretty distinctive range? I mean, would you say that those 13 kind of were like out here, or were they more like in here in terms of?
It was slightly broad.
Okay.
Okay. The middle ground between.
Okay.
Where they were project management for construction, construction engineering, and utility engineering. Those were the fields.
Okay.
You applied.
Okay. And so how of the 13, how many interviews?
3.
Okay. And of the 3, how many offers?
2.
Okay. So were you good with the 2 that I mean, so take this the right way. You didn't take one of them just to take a job.
Correct.
I mean, because everything you said would tell me you wouldn't do that. So you took one because you wanted that job.
Yes.
So how did you make that decision?
It was a lot to do with the people. Whenever you go into the interview, the people you meet and the things you talk about and the way that they describe the job to be is much more real than what you read on the paper or on Indeed.
Right.
And between those 2, one was a project management position and the other was a construction engineering position. I definitely felt stronger that construction management was my route. There were many items of it that lined up with my strengths. I'm very bureaucratic, to put it one way. I enjoy paperwork and dotting my I's, crossing my T's.
Right.
Everything is clean and pristine the way it needs to be. Project management isn't that way.
Right.
Inspecting of construction on a construction engineering side, you try to make it that way as much as you can.
So I seem to recall somebody who was very neat in their homework submissions and such.
Yeah.
So something that you're alluding to without saying it is, and I think it's important, is you interviewed the companies as much as they interviewed you.
Yes.
Now, did you think that way when you took your job at CTL? Did you?
At CTL Group, I was an intern, and they offered me a full-time job.
And you
I
took
was
it.
thrilled with that. I didn't think anything of it. Now I see everything in a different light. I value myself more. I value myself for my family.
Right.
And the job is not just a job; it's a career.
Right. Your process here. I mean, I really admire what you've done, how you've gone about it, the commitment you've given to what you've done, because it's something I tell students a lot, that don't, especially coming out of school, don't chase the money. People are going to dangle, large amounts of money in front of you, and don't go take the job because of that. And sometimes they do. And within a year or two, I get a call, hey, I'm not happy.
It's funny that you mentioned that. There was one, I didn't even give this job a thought, but one of my networks has a connection that is looking for a PE to put in Iran. And the job pays 180 grand for a year. They want you there for 15 months. I'm like, well, that's, a massive sum of money.
Yep.
If I talk with my family and say, hey, this is the route we want to go, I'll see you guys 15 months from now. that would be something different. But no, I could not do that.
Yeah.
That's for someone else.
And actually, I know some people, one out of Chicago, that did a 2.5 or a 3-year stint in the Middle East, for like triple their salary, and it was one of those very defined duration projects with a large salary because of the work and where they were going to be stationed. And
Yep.
and they did it. They came back to Chicago, and I think they actually were able to go back to the job that they previously had. But it was kind of like, hey, this amount of money I can then put away towards retirement, and some things like that. And so I mean, everybody's got to make the decisions for themselves, and there's an option. Those kind of opportunities do present themselves. And but I'm like you. I mean, my family wouldn't even allow me to open up my mouth and say any words like that might relate to that. So I'm gonna take a second here. I got to see if I can locate something I want to show you. Share my screen here with you in a second. If I lost a whole heck of a lot of images when we moved from Valpo down here to Texas, because one of my hard drives failed, and so a lot of my stuff that I had from Valpo is gone, which is it's too bad, and I don't think that I'm just looking at some stuff here. I think you probably can guess what image I'm looking for. Can you guess? Because we're gonna have to wrap things up here in a second. So I have to tell the story because and you'll know once I go down this path.
Oh.
I knew it would kick in. I knew it would kick
might
in.
have the hat here.
Huh?
I said I might have the hat. I could put it back on and we could recreate it.
Well, were you wearing a hat?
I'm fairly confident I was.
I don't remember. So Michael got the nickname Sleepy Salguero. Has anybody caught you sleeping since? Oh, that means yes. I love it.
Hey, sometimes I have to be at work from 11 at night to 11 a.m. and
Right.
It's a long shift. If you
Sure.
have a window of 2 hours where the contractor is off on a break and they're not doing any work, yeah, I'm going to catch some.
Understandable. So I get to tell this story because it's a good one. It's just like an all-time classic for me. It doesn't matter for me who the audience is. I pull this one out on many occasion. So we went to it was an ASCE thing, wasn't it? Was it an ASCE event that was in Maine?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Flying out of Chicago at 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. You and I and who else? One other person too. I'm trying to remember. Some of these details don't matter, but
From Valpo.
who else was it?
Katie.
Yep. So we get in. Yeah. So we get in the car. We pick it. Weren't you asleep? Didn't we have to wake you up to get you to come down to the car because you had fallen asleep in your room? I think.
Possibly.
So he gets in the car, and 30 seconds into us driving from Valpo to the airport, he was asleep.
I remember very vividly. You turned around and asked, "Who's hungry? Where do you want to go to eat?" I said, "I'm hungry." The follow-up question.
He was asleep. In 30 seconds, he was, and on the way to Chicago, it happened. When we got to the airport in Rhode Island, it happened. And I think Katie then turned around and took a picture of you sleeping in the backseat of the car during daylight hours.
I thought this photo would have just gone away back at college, but I guess it sticks around.
I gotta find it because I'd be real disappointed if I'd completely lost it.
If
And
you don't
wanted.
have the actual photo, you do have the presentation slide from.
Oh, is it in there?
Oh yes, it's in one of your presentations.
Oh well, I have that.
Yes.
Let me see. Let me just do. I gotta then take. I
But
don't
yeah,
know.
Dr. John Schemmel here. He is the kind of guy that, though, I mean, it's college, people have fun. I'm asleep, and he takes a photo. Katie took the photo, but
Yeah.
puts a nice little decal over it, dubbing me Sleepy,
Yeah.
and shares it in a presentation next time at the design of concrete structures, or whichever class it was. I can't recall.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. It stuck.
Yeah, my name was Sleepy from then on. And it's because, in college, I was working 20-hour weeks, going to school full time, and a Division I college athlete. There was a
Yeah.
lot of my and ASCE participant, eventually ASCE student chapter president.
Yeah.
Lots of things that you do in college.
Oh, you
When you
did.
give up sleep. You give
Right.
up sleep.
Yeah. You deserved the chance to sleep. I'm not arguing that. It just was the timing was beautiful. And I can't find the presentation real quick, but I also remember that I got a Smurf that was Sleepy Smurf. So that was in there too. There was a picture of you, I remember in the presentation, you asleep in the back seat and the Sleepy Smurf.
It was the Seven Dwarf. Sleepy.
Sleepy the Dwarf. There you go. Okay.
And then,
see, even you remember it, so it's a classic.
Oh, yeah.
It's a classic.
A classmate had gifted me Sleepy, the stuffed dwarf, a little plush version of him, just
Nice.
because of his name. It
Nice.
stuck. Yeah. Every now and then I will get a message from someone saying, "This made me think of you," and it's something to do with Sleepy. Apparently, there's a place called Sleepy's Mattresses.
Yes.
Mattress store.
Yes. When I've seen that, my wife and I talk about you, is if we ever see the Sleepy commercial or the mattress store. Well, let me tell you. So I told my wife, I said, here's who's up today. I've got 3 actually. I'm doing 3 podcasts, and all of them happen to be from people that are from Valpo. And so I mentioned the first person, and I said, and then Sleepy's up next. And she kind of looked at me for a second. And I said, do you remember Sleepy? And she said, oh, yeah. So that tells you something. So
yeah, we had a nice Texas brisket last time I came up.
Excellent. Yeah. You need to come back. You need to come down here. I need to come up there. So
and yeah, next time, bring my family.
Yeah.
We'll have a good time.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, sir. I appreciate you spending some time with me reminiscing here on the Let's Be Civil podcast. You brought up some excellent points and things for people to think about when they're looking at careers and being civil engineers and making job changes, and don't just take these things lightly. There's a lot more to it than that, and I think you presented it extremely well, and I appreciate all that you have added to the podcast here in this little short 30-minute segment. So now put on your helmet, get your face mask on, and go out there and walk around and yell at some people, right? Isn't that part of your job?
My job is telling the contractors that is per plan or that is not per plan, and you need to make it per plan.
There you go. There you go. Authority is going through your head. Now you're going to have trouble getting your head out the door, pushing some people around. So it was outstanding talking to you today, Michael.
It was my pleasure,
Good to see you. Yep.